theme here is Romans 12, verse 2. But actually, when I started to do my research, I want us to do Romans 12, verse 1 to 3, please. Romans 12, verse 1 to 3. If anyone is there, can read. That would be great.
Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. For by the grace given me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to, but rather think of yourself with sober judgment, in accordance with the faith God has distributed to each of you. For just as each of us has...
Three is okay. Thank you.
Up to three. Sorry.
That's one. The renewal of our minds and the humility that ensues. It says, be renewed in your mindsets. You should not see yourself as better than anybody else, but you should change within your mindset. And when I read that, there were so many things that came to me when I was reading that passage. But I brought my Bible. I could have brought a smaller one, but I love my Bible because it's all marked up and everything. But one thing that sticks out for me says, therefore, brethren, verse 1, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice. A living sacrifice. Key word there being living. You can't present your body when you're dead. You're alive, so a living sacrifice. So for me, I was thinking, what does that mean, a living sacrifice? Because when you're talking about sacrifice, you're talking about presenting something on the altar or to something that is a sacrifice, something that is painful to you, something that is dear to you, something that you go out of your way to do as a sacrifice. So you drive, you normally go left, and it's easier for you to go left, but you need to drop somebody, and you're not really intending to do that, but it's a sacrifice for you to go all the way around and come just to drop that person off. You're sacrificing your time, you're sacrificing your comfort, you're sacrificing the fact that you'll be home in less than time if you hadn't dropped this person. So I started to think about that in a sense of the living. Living, that was the key thing for me. What does that mean, living? I'm alive, so I must present myself on a daily basis as a living sacrifice to God in everything I do. So that means that what I want to do or what I desire to do, I can't do that. Because if it displeases God, then I can't do that. Regardless of how I may want to do it, I may want to go out of my feelings and say, you know what, forget you, God, I just want to do what I want to do. I can't do that because I must present myself as a living sacrifice. Remember, we're talking about the renewing of minds. But it has to be, it's a process for us to get there. It has to be intentional. We have to be intentional in that which we do. Because it's easy. Okay, I'm a single lady. I'm just using an example. I'm a single lady. Oh, I see all my friends, they're going out and doing all these things with men, so I should be able to do the same thing as well. But if I say I'm a Christian and I'm called a Christian, which is Christ here, because it's Christ, and then Adam, I must be able to show a better example. In as much as I want to do what they're doing, but I can't do what they're doing because I'm supposed to be set apart. Does that make sense? I'm supposed to be set apart. So I'm putting myself as a living sacrifice because I am alive. But it's an intentional thing. Because we may be in church and hear everything that is being said, but I said earlier on that once we step out, the reality of the real world hits us. And you see everything that is happening around you. Especially with school, with the young people, you have that whole peer pressure thing going on there. I was speaking to a mentee of mine yesterday afternoon, and she came in and we didn't know ourselves, but I'd seen her picture, so we sat down and started talking. And in the process of talking, you could see that she wasn't comfortable. I saw her pictures and everything. I said, oh, you look different. She was like, oh, I look very messed up. That was the word she used. I was like, why do you look messed up? You look fine to me. She's like, oh, because she doesn't have makeup on. I was like, okay. Because you don't have makeup on, you look very messed up. And she said something that really hit me. She said, my mom said that I'm not beautiful if I don't have makeup on. How that hits me. That hits me real well. I was like, wow. She said, oh, because I have bad skin, so I don't look good. And then she went on to say that the guy, she was 21, yeah, she's 21. She said that the guy that she was, I don't know if she's seeing or was seeing, he said to her that, why do you put on all this makeup? You look better without. And so we were talking, you could see her body language was, how she was just clamoring in because it was like, she felt naked because she didn't have that mask on. And I said to her, obviously, before we met, you sent me different things about you, so I was looking at your different clips and your social media things. And the thing that was coming into my mind, especially when I was looking at your image and everything on Facebook, I don't even want to use that word on you. Because it was a very negative word that I saw. And speaking to you and seeing you, you're a very intelligent girl, but you don't come across that way. So little by little, she was putting her guards down because of the fact that she's had this inside of her telling her, you are not beautiful if you don't have, I call it plaster because it was just so much, there's too much of it. So we're talking about the renewing of our minds. It has to start from within. The transformation that you desire to see starts from within. It doesn't start from outside. She had to work within. So I said to her, you know what, we're going to meet again. So book a time with my diary, let's meet again. But beforehand, I'm going to give you homework. And I said to her, I want you to go back and tell me who you are. And she looked at me, she's like, that's a difficult task. I was like, that's a difficult task. She's like, yeah, it's a difficult task. Because she's like, I was like, I'm looking at all your stuff here, I'm looking at your CV and everything. Is this not you? Is this not what you wrote down? She's like, yeah. But then by the time we finished our session, she said, she looked at the CV again, she said, you know, now I'm doubting if that's really me. So that there's one thing we put on paper, and the reality of it's totally different because we want to conform to everything around us. But the Bible says we should not be conformed, we should not conform to the things of this world. But we should be transformed in the renewal of our mind, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice. We are alive, we have breath in us, we have life in us. So we must present ourselves as a living sacrifice on a daily basis. And it has to be intentional. We're working and we're fighting against our flesh because our flesh wants to do this. But we're saying to ourselves, is this the will of God? That's a question that has to be asked on a daily basis. We're going to go on. I'm going to talk, in my talk today, I'm going to be covering topics on hindrances to the renewal of mind. What will hinder us to have that transformed mindset? What are those things that will come to us and make us feel that we can never do? The first thing here is doubt. When you believe, when you think within yourself that you're not able to do so, why is that? Why does doubt creep in within us and say to us, you're not able to do so? When you've planned to do whatever it is you've planned for, but then doubt creeps in and tells you that it's not possible. It's not possible. Doubt is a silent killer. That's how I call it. You may class it in different ways, but for me, it's a silent killer because potentials, greatness, are not achieved because of doubt. If we just go to the cemetery and we're able to raise up some people from the dead, after that whole initial shock of, oh my God, the dead person just risen up. But then you begin to ask questions, just flow with me. You're beginning to ask them a question and so many different things. So many things you see is that, some may say, I did what I could do. Others were like, there were still so many things I needed to do, but I just couldn't go ahead because I was doubtful. Like, they may not use the word doubt, but so many hindrances, so many things blocked it. But why do we allow doubt as one of the hindrances to the rule? Why do we allow doubt? Why do we give power to doubt when God has told us that He has given us everything already? Why do we allow doubt to hinder us? And so God, whilst in the process, I began to say, okay, what does doubt mean? What does it mean to be doubtful? Unstable. Rocky. That's a dictionary definition. Wobbly. Unbalanced. Unreliable. The definition of that. There's so much, but those are the words that stuck out for me. So we open our Bibles to James chapter 1, verse 1 to 8. It scripture, I'll read from verse 2. It says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience," that's verse 4, "have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." 5, it says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith and with no doubting. For he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind." 7, "For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord." 8, "He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways." He is a double-minded man. This is what doubt does. You plan whatever you plan in that year. So in that process of planning, that particular moment in time, it's great, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. Then all of a sudden, doubt creeps in, and then you become unreliable. So people around you that you've planned with, are like, "Oh, what happened? You remember we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and then all of a sudden now, the day comes, or lead up to the day, they're calling your phone, and it's no longer ringing, or if it does ring, no one's picking it up again. Because you're dealing with your own insecurities at the back. And you're talking about renewing your mindset. You're talking about, "Oh, I don't like this." You're talking about, "Oh, I don't like what they do." You're talking about, "Oh," you say to somebody, "Oh, let's meet at 2 o'clock," and the person turns up at 4 o'clock, and you say you don't like that. But then you're doing exactly the same thing. Because you've allowed doubt to come into your mind. But people can say, "But it's easier said than done." I know it's easier said than done, but the thing about it, whilst I was saying that, whilst I was just going through all that, what came to me, I was going to say that at the end, but let me just put that. It says, it's the substance of information within you that will help you develop your confidence. It's the substance of information within you. So I got that this morning. So I had to put that up as a meme on social media. It's the substance of information within you. What do you have within you? What is it within you that will enable you to go through those times when your doubt comes in? When you plan this project, you say that this is a project you want to execute for 2017 to help you in the attainment of your goals. And then doubt begins to come in and say, "Wow, it's too big. No one in your family has ever done this. Why do you even think you're going to try? Remember, you tried it before and you failed. You're going to fail again." So all of these things are happening in your mind. And as the more it goes on, that whole energy, that whole excitement you had at the beginning, at the onset, it begins to dwindle. One step at a time, you just begin to, everything, all the bricks of the powder begins to come crumbling down. Because of what? Doubt. The Bible calls him an unstable person, unreliable. How many of us are going around with that same mindset that we're being unreliable? Not just to the people outside, to our children inside. And what are we teaching them? To grow up with doubt as well, to become unreliable. There's no need to plan anything because you will never execute it in the first place. Just don't bother. Just live life as a mediocre. Maybe I'll do it today, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Another hindrance to the renewal of mind is fear. So we have fear, false expectation appearing real, or false expressions, or false, whatever you want to call it, appearing real. We know all that. But fear is a killer as well. That's another silent killer as well. Doubt and fear for me, I call them, they're the same family. They work hand in hand. Because once the doubt creeps in, fear takes over. And then that just stops you from achieving what you want to achieve. This is this last Saturday in February. At the beginning of the year, we all come, "Oh, this year it's going to be great. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that." You have your long list. Everything's going to be fantastic. I used to be one of those people. I have this long list. But I never actually did anything to execute what I said I was going to do. Nothing. So somehow, come December 2017, don't ask me how, I was mysteriously and miraculously, shall I say, expecting all those things that I've listed down back on the 1st of January to have manifested, but I don't know how I was supposed to have manifested when I haven't actually done anything to cause them to come to manifestation. There's one thing to write it down. There's another thing to take steps in the actualization of those goals. But sometimes when we set those goals, because we're like, "Oh my God, these goals are too big, I can never achieve it." You've already killed that goal already. You've already killed the opportunity that you may have had to attain it by the words you've spoken. Because you've already doubted yourself. You placed it down, but you doubted yourself. As if you can't do it. Then fear comes in and says, don't worry, don't bother. It's for them. Who's them? 2 Timothy 1, 5 to 7. 2 Timothy 1, 5 to 7 says, now the purpose of the commandment is love from a pure heart, from a good conscience, and from sincere faith, from which some, having strayed, have turned aside. Oh, sorry, I'm reading verse Timothy. I was wondering, I was like, this doesn't sound like it. Okay, 2 Timothy 1, 5 to 7. Okay. When I call to remembrance the genuine faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother Lois and your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded is in you also. Therefore, 6, I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God, 7, has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. God has not given us a spirit of fear. So where did fear come from? If he hasn't given us a spirit of fear, where did fear come from? That is it. The devil has brought in fear to oppose faith. You walk by faith. Everything we do, the fact that you wake up in the morning and you say, so today's Saturday, so yesterday you said, or prior to yesterday, you already knew you were going to be here today. How did you know you're going to be here today? What powers do you think you have within you that will enable you to see today? If God, who is the giver of life, said no, how would you have been able to oppose that? Many people are mourning today because their loved ones did not wake up this morning. So what makes us so special? Because we said we're going to be here today? But the key thing here I'm trying to bring across is that we have faith that we're going to be here today. We didn't have to do anything extraordinary. We just had that deep down faith within us that we'll be here today. But if we can have that deep down faith that we're going to be at a place that we said we're going to be, and by the grace of God, we turn up in that place, why then do we allow fear to hold us from achieving that which we want to achieve? Because we plan to be somewhere, and by His grace, we get to that day and we finally turn up at that place. But then, when it comes to us now, in the renewing of our mind, in the transformation within us, for us to attain our goals, we allow fear. When God has said, He has not given you the spirit of fear. He has given you every single thing that you desire. Every single thing. The difference between a girl and a woman is not because she grows up and she becomes a woman. No, let me put it this way. The difference between a childless person and a person with child, especially when they go through that process of being pregnant, is the fact that they go through that process and they become pregnant and they have a child and they class them as a mother. Or if those who are not able to, they go through a process of adoption and they class them as a parent, yes? So outside of what we know that needs to happen, the natural way for them to have the child, if that's not possible, they go through the medical help and everything. But what else does a woman do to herself to be able to prepare her womb to carry that baby?
The need for it.
Sorry? What else does she do within herself to be able to prepare herself to carry that baby, whichever way, however way the baby comes? Eat healthy, go to the gym, all of that. We know all of that. Well, here's the question. What else does she do in her womb to prepare herself to carry that baby? She doesn't really have to do extra because she after, okay, let's stick with the natural, because once that going on to is just too many stories. Let's just stick with the natural. The deed is done, and then not long after that, God, yes, we'll find out we're pregnant, yes? After the deed that is done, she gets up and she's going about her business. They should just be like, oh yeah, the day that God says, okay, the baby is there, the seed is in the womb already. And she's going about, before she confirms that, yes, she's pregnant in the very, very early stages, she's not really feeling anything yet. Does she know the second, the hour, the minute, everything that God says, okay, this child is coming? No. She doesn't. Even the doctors, yes, they have all this and they go and they do the scan and say, your X amount weeks pregnant or months pregnant, however. They've programmed the machine to be able to tell them that. But what I'm saying is that I'm talking about fear and faith. She has faith within her that after doing the deed, because of no protection, and at the right time of the month, something will happen. And then a couple of weeks later, there is a confirmation that something has happened. But she has that faith within her. She doesn't have fear that, oh, we've done the deed, there's no protection, everything is right, so things should happen. She then doesn't sit down and start panicking, oh my God, will it happen? Oh my God, oh no, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. No, you have to wait. You have to at least give it 2 weeks to get confirmation. So if we're able to have faith on things that are very simple, why can't we have faith for things that we feel are too big? The key word then saying we feel are too big. Because when you set up your goals in January and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z for 2017, these are your goals. Excepting you have joint goals with somebody else. But your own personal goals, these are your goals. You set them out yourself. You wrote them down yourself. Why now in February, on the 25th of February 2017, you haven't actually begun to do anything to actualize those goals? Why have you allowed fear? Why have you allowed fear to hinder you, if at all? Or what, if not fear, what has stopped you? 2 months is now rolling away. Come Tuesday, February is gone. What has stopped you in the attainment of those goals? If you can have faith that when you sleep at night, you set your alarm for whatever time, you're going to wake up the next day. Why can't that faith still stir you up to say, you know what, whatever those goals are, you can do it? Fear comes in and tells us that there's no point. You will fail. But failure is only failure when you remain in that spot. Failure turns to success when you pick yourself up, you dust yourself up, and you go on. You learn from where you failed, and you carry on. You have to carry on. We need to learn from children. Because they don't have fear until we begin to instill fear in them. They want to go and do everything. But like, no, get down. You're going to hurt yourself. No. And that's how they begin to cultivate all that. But a small child can go and enter fire because he or she doesn't know that this is going to cause damage to me. But we as a parent, the adults, are like, no, don't go. Yes, obviously we're going to stop them. But what I'm trying to say is that act alone, they're okay. They're like, it doesn't bother. They just go and do what they need to do. So we're talking about the renewing of our mind, but we have to look at the things that will hinder us from renewing our mind in order for us to live that transformation that we so desire. To live a transformed life, so that we can go out of church, out of wherever we are, step out into the world and say, you know what, world? I'm no longer going to be coasting. I'm going to take charge and achieve that which I'm supposed to achieve. Because there is greatness in each and every one of us. But we can only actualize it and unlock the doors to those greatness if we become intentional about it. And that's the bottom line. It says, fear, an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. That's what fear is. Dictionary definition. An unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. There are things that are real that would cause our hearts to jump and be frightened. However, there are things that causes us to shake when we do not need to. There are things that are real. I talked about going into a cemetery and then saying, okay, all the dead people come out there. I'll be the first one to run out there. I won't even go there, but yeah, we're just giving an example. But there are things that are real that will cause us to shake. But there are other things that we build up and make it look and say, oh my God, it's so painful. For me, I don't like needles. I'm scared of needles. So for me, when it comes to taking blood, it's not so much the act, it's the build-up. It's the build-up. So I'm already, before I get there, I remember a nurse said to me, how are you able to have just children? You need to have blood tests. I'm like, don't even ask me. So like, this is nothing compared to giving birth. I'm like, don't ask me, but I don't. So for me, before, when I know I need to go for a blood test, the whole thing I've already built up in my back of my head. I'm like, so I've already imagined the worst already. So before we get there, I'm so tense that they can't find my veins, nothing. So we go through the whole process. But then, once we finally get the blood, it's such a very short time. They just put it in, take the blood, and that's it. And I turn around like, is that it? And then the nurse or the doctor will be like, yeah, that's it. But I've built up, so that's the thing. We have this thing because of being human beings. We build up so many things that we're like, oh my God, I can never do this, I can never do it. But when you actually go ahead and take that first step, you say to yourself, oh, hold on. What was I scared about? And many of us never achieve anything in life or anything great in life because we've allowed fear and its brother doubts to dwell within us. And we don't live that renewed, they don't have that renewed mindset in order for us to be transformed within. And that's what it's all about. Transformation has to start from within, but you have to be intentional about it. You have to believe that you can. Once you believe that you can, you take that step forward and then begin to act towards it, whatever your goals are. You want to build a house. You can't just go outside and start building a house. You have to have the design in your mind. If you don't have it, you speak to an architect and say, okay, listen, this is what I'm thinking of. And he or she is trained to begin to put all your thoughts onto paper. He's not going to build it for you. He's going to put it onto paper. Then you take that paper and you take it to the builder, and the builder is able to translate what he's drawn now into that dream house of yours. But it has to start from somewhere. So eventually, 6 months, 1 year, 18 months, however long later, you have your dream house. But it started from here. You believe that you can. Oh, I don't have all the money, but I have something that we can start off with. We may have to pause for a little while, but at least I have something. Because some of us are waiting until we have everything before we start. In the process of waiting to have everything, God forbid you die off, then what? Nothing is achieved. The late Dr. Miles Monroe said, go to the grave empty. When I heard that statement, I was like, that's powerful. Go to the grave empty. Don't go forward. Don't feel, oh, it's past my time, I'm old. There's still so many things that you can do. You can get the young people around you and say, you know what, if I can't do X, Y, and Z, I can give you advice of the pitfalls to avoid in order for you to live a very well-established, purposeful life. And that's what the bottom line is. The fear of stepping out into the unknown, the emotions and thoughts of being mocked at, failure, lack, not being enough, or not good enough. Going back to that girl of yesterday. Her mom told her, well, you're not beautiful if you don't have plaster. I don't call it makeup, plaster. Because from her images, there was a lot of it. Why is that? How can her own mother be so shallow to believe that until you have makeup, then you're beautiful? How is that possible? Makeup, for me, is meant to enhance what you already have. It's not meant to mask it. Because when you put on the makeup, I remember a few months ago, I was just going through Facebook and I saw somebody and I was like, that just triggered me. I had to put a post out. The face, this is a black lady, dark skin, was so light. Oh. The neck was so black. I was like, okay, I can't name this person because that would be very rude, but I had to put a statement. I was like, ladies, come on, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And I remember 1 or 2 comedians, I've heard them say this, and they're like, you go out with a lady, she's all made up and everything, she has the hair and everything, and by the time you go out with her, you're going to spend the night with her, wake up the next morning, you're thinking, who is this? Because it's totally different. And I was laughing, I was like, it's true, what the person is saying is very, very true. Because of the fact that you mask them, I'm not saying I wear makeup, but why do we feel the need to put so much? The girl was saying to me, she said, it takes her 2 hours to get ready. I was like, 2 hours? I was like, wow, okay. I don't have that luxury of 2 hours to get ready. 2 Chronicles 16:9. 2 Chronicles first heard it many years ago, it just stuck to me. It says, the eyes of the Lord goes to and fro. It says, for the eyes of the Lord runs to and fro throughout the whole earth to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him. In this you have done foolishly. Therefore, from now on you shall have wars. But the point is, his eyes goes to and fro. He sees us. He knows us by name. The Bible tells us in Isaiah 49, he has inscribed us in the palm of his hands. So he knows us by name. He knows everything about us. And we know fully well, we've read it, that he has not given us a spirit of fear. And when we doubt, we are unstable. We are unreliable. So why do we feel like, oh, when the situation gets so difficult, we're like, oh, it's just me, it's only me suffering alone. Once we're able to step out of our bubble and take time to listen to somebody else's story, you realize that your story that you thought was worse is actually nothing compared to what's happening out there. I always use the same example all the time, and I think it's so relevant. When you wear clothes, you're covering your nakedness. There's all this body magic, there's this, there's that you put on to hold this up, do that, everything. But when you go and have a bath, you're not going to have all that. You're going to take everything off, and it's just going to be you and all your loveliness. So that's with clothes. But then, God who made us, he knows us in and out, with or without clothes. He knows everything about us. And he's given us the ability to do what he himself is more than able to do. He's given that same, he has deposited it in us. Why then do we second guess ourselves every single time? And I think one thing that has made me so angry, especially with us Christians, is the fact that we come to church, we carry the Bible, hallelujah, praise the Lord, God is good, blah, blah, blah. But when we step outside, it's totally different in the sense of taking that step of faith. We don't do that. But the people outside, because I'm in business and I'm always going out and meeting with different people, not necessarily who are within the church. When you listen to what they say, they're applying the biblical truths without actually mentioning God or Jesus or Holy Spirit. I remember this, I will never forget this. I went for a 3-day seminar, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this rich American billionaire was talking. And we were in a room like this for those 3 days in a hotel in Victoria. And the guy was saying that when you what do you say? He said, when you speak out to the universe gives back to you what you say. What does the Bible say? You shall decree a thing, and it shall be. That's what he said. And he said, that was the first thing for me. That was in 2000, I'll never forget, 2013. And then he said, when you give to other people without wanting for yourself, you will reap the benefit. If not immediate, you will definitely reap the benefit. The Bible tells us, give, and it shall be given unto you. So as the man was talking, I was sat in the front row, and my mouth was like, wow, because that was the first time I was here, because I used to be like, I used to be one of those church people, like, yeah, church. But until I heard that in 2013, that was 4 years ago, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I was like, wow. That's all I was saying all through the whole thing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, wow. And I was like, that's the difference. That's what sets us apart. That's why this man is standing here as a rich billionaire, and I'm sat there as a broke Christian girl.
My goodness. If we broke the world are wiser and trained.
It's the renewal of our mindsets. It's not something that happens overnight. It's an intentional walk. You have to understand. God says, I know the plans I have for you. Plans of good and not of evil. To bring you, guess what? To what? An expected. Underline the word expected. And expected. So he has a great expectation for us. But we second guess ourselves. We doubt. And we allow its brother fear to take over. And say that we can't do it. And because we say we can't do it, we'll live, like I said before, a mediocre life. And we're like, oh, we begin to procrastinate. I'll do it tomorrow. Why push it to tomorrow when you don't? Tomorrow is not assured to anybody when you can do it today. You may be tired, you may be everybody, do it today. I was just saying to yourself before when I came in earlier on, when we were just talking before everyone came in, I said I went out yesterday, busy the whole of yesterday, went out for a friend's party last night, came back, went to bed early hours of this morning. I know that I had another meeting this morning, I knew that I needed to cook for the family. So I woke up, I hadn't slept, I was so tired, ran downstairs, do the cooking, quickly had a shower, went to the meeting, went to pick up the car from where it was, dropped it halfway for my hubby, and then started making my way. I'm all for the whole thing now. I'm tired, I want to sleep, but I can't do it because I know that these are the things. I could have said, oh, let me leave the cooking, I'll do that later. But then during the course of the day, because I'm not going to be in, my phone won't stop ringing. There's no food to cook. So it's best to get it done in the morning, out of the way. Because I said to myself, I sat in the bed when I woke up, I was like, okay, so how long is it actually going to take me to do what I want to do? 1 hour max. So I ran downstairs and I began to do it. Chopping, do everything, 1 hour max, I was done. But if I had said, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, by the grace of God, it's always by the grace of God. When I go to church after that, I'm going to go to another meeting. Then when I come back, because at the end of the weekend, 5 I'm going to sit down. Is that time I want to start cooking? No.
Not at all.
Especially after a long weekend, no. So why do we push things to the next day when we can do it today? Why do we allow fear and doubt to hold us back? Is the substance of the information that you have, is the word of God that you have within you that will propel you to the next level. So when people talk to me about my music, I remember back in 2010, I think, I was working with my then music manager, and she told me the first time she spoke to me, she said, Magdalene, I've gotten us a gig, this is the word she used. And I'm like, oh great, where is it? She said, oh, we're going to a nightclub in central London. I was like, oh my God, a nightclub. I was like, do you know who my dad is? And she was like, I'm like, what if people my dad knows are there? What would they say? And she was like, Magdalene, calm down. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I can't go and sing in a nightclub. And she was like, she had to sit me down and talk to me for a very long time. And she said, Magdalene, your song, we know the inspirations of your song, but it's not in a sense that you're going to conform to the world. You're going, this is the venue that I've gotten for you. Then they have, in that particular nightclub, they have like an open mic thing. Then afterwards, we'll finish, then they have their normal business taking place after that. So you just go in, yourself and other contestant for that. And it happens to be in that venue. So it took me a long time. So I got there and I was like, okay. This is 2010, it took me a lot. My husband was there as well, so it took me a very long time. And I sang and I did everything. And so my songs, as I write them, because I was like, I had to start to train my mind to say, okay, how do I write songs that I'm going to be singing that are not necessarily within the church? How do I change the words? Because I'm used to just church. How do I change the words? And I was like, Holy Spirit, you need to help me because I don't know how to do this. And because I asked him, he began to help me. So that after that time, and then other events as well, I remember one particular time I went to sing, I can't remember where we went to, somewhere I said I'm very far. And then we finished singing and somebody walked up to me. And he looked at me and I was like, okay, what's going on here, love? And he said, that's a church song, isn't it? And that's the word he used, that's a church song, isn't it? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I know. So for me, all those fears that were within me immediately melted away. Immediately. Because for me, it was like, that was it. That which I needed to do, I passed the message across. I'm carrying the gospel, but because my audience are not within the church, who may speak different languages to me, I'm carrying that same gospel, but in a language that is relatable to them, but I'm still portraying the gospel of Christ without having been too in your face that this is the gospel. And so when he said that to me, I said to the lady, you know what, bring it on. Bring it on, I'm ready, let's do this. So that's where that whole thing began in 2013. That other guy just took me to another level. But it's something that we have to be intentional about. We have the fears, we have the doubt, but we have to be intentional about transforming that which within us. Stop pointing the fingers at others. It's so easy to do that. It's extremely easy. But he should know that, she should know that. He's the pastor, she's this, he's that. The pastor's there, like remember I said, it's a title. So if you see them falling and they're messing around with the church members or whatever, it's easy for us to talk about it. But you remember, it's a title. They are human beings. If you cut them up, it's the same red blood that will flow from them that will also flow within us. So they are prone to fall, but even theirs is more because they're in a place of position. That's right. So the renewing of mind It's about transformation, but that must come from within. It's not an external work, it's an internal work. For you to go back, and I'm always talking, I'm so key, and talk about this. Get out of the rat race. It's a busy world. Technology has not made things even easy for us, because technology, you can connect with someone in Staffordshire by the click of your finger. You just pick up your phone, do this, go on social media, whatever. You're connecting, you're talking to people in different parts of the world. So every time we're being bombarded, I've got an iPhone. I remember getting my iPhone, I think it's an iPhone 6. It was 2 weeks later, they were bringing out the next one. I was like, come on, let's enjoy the one we have first before you bring out the next. It's just constant, it's constant, it's constant. So we can get pulled into all of that. Or we can say, you know what, let me just back out of it. Because I'm just going to go crazy with all of this. And start to do an internal diagnostics. Okay, who am I? Like I said to that young lady. For her, that was a difficult task because she didn't know who she was. She was lost in the bubble. And that's how we can easily get lost. We need to step out and say, okay, who am I? Regardless of our age, it doesn't matter. Who am I? That's the number one question. And I want to conclude with this. My lecturer, when I finished uni, because I went in late and I finished in 2011, coming to the end now, and he said to me, Magdalene, who is Magdalene? So I was telling him this and this, I'm working on it. I said, don't tell me anything. He told me, say his word. He said, go to the beach and get an A4 paper and write them, do a spidergram. Just put Magdalene in the middle and do a spidergram. I said, don't type it out. I want you to do it in your own writing. That's what he said to me. I was like, okay. So I went, got the A5 paper, put Magdalene. Oh, she's a musician. And I brought it back. So I was thinking, yeah, I've done it. I brought it back to him. He's like, yeah, that's good. And I said, okay, break it down. He's like, what? He's like, break it down. He sent me off again. I went away. Now this time I was thinking harder about break it down. Because it's easier when you say it, but when you actually start to do it, it's like, whoa. So I was breaking it down. I was filling up the paper, because before I was like A5 paper, just this little thing, it's not going to fill it out. Paper's not beginning to fill out. I went back to him again. He said, okay, that's good. Break it down again. I was like, come on. He kept sending me back. At that time, I was like, this man. But now, 6 years later, I talk about him with such high respect, because of the fact that I'm like, this man, you don't know what you did to. Even before I graduated, I would see him walking in the aisle. I would call out his name, like, I love you, man. He's like, leave me alone. It's a white man who just go already. I was like, I'm like, you don't understand. It's an act to go married. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about that kind of love, but I love you. You don't understand? I love you. Because of what he done to me. He didn't give me any money, but he began the process for me. That I'm able to pass along. And I said to a mentee of mine yesterday, I said, go back and do this. And you could see her eyes was beginning to tear up because of so many things she was taking, so many things she's gone through. And it's sad that people are suffering. People are seriously suffering in this country. I'm not talking about abroad, in this country. And it's a young lady of 21 years old. So she's masking all that thing with just the makeup, but there's some deep-rooted issues that are there. The renewal of our mind is an intentional walk for us to be transformed. But remember, transformation starts from within. It's an inside-out work. You can't start from outside. You can't look at other people to do your own transformation. Your makeup, your blueprint is unique to you. God made you you. He wasn't drunk, God forbid. When he made you, he knew exactly who you were going to be and how you were going to turn out. And so it's for us now to understand who we are and align ourselves with our purpose in life, so that we'll begin to walk intentionally in order for us to attain those goals that we're set out to attain. And along the way, we get it wrong. Along the way, we fail. But we shouldn't knock ourselves down and say, that's it. We have to be our own cheerleader, our own best cheerleader. We have to cheer ourselves up all the time, even when we don't feel like doing it. Have people around you that will pick you up when you feel like, oh my God. 2 Fridays ago, I was feeling very teary, so I have people that I can call up, and I call them up, counseling people, and they're just talking to me, and I was like, oh my God, this and that. She was like, calm down. By the time we had finished the conversation, my mood had perked up because I have people around me that can help me to go for that process. So that when I'm feeling, that doesn't go on for a whole day or days. It's probably an hour, max 2 hours, because of the fact that there is substance. There is substance. So when I'm feeling that, it's not because I'm feeling as if I'm not worthy, it's because I'm like, okay, how am I able to do this? But the substance of information within would not allow me to just go down the drain. Thank you very much.
Shall I finish it?